Bill Maher mocked Trump. If Don Jr. did what Hunter Biden did, it would be all Rachel Maddow. Comedian Bill Maher is most certainly not a Trump supporter, and he has made his distaste for the president very clear countless times. However, Maher is also not a partisan hack and is not afraid to call out the Democrats when he senses hypocrisy. HBO's Bill Maher on Friday addressed Hunter Biden's lucrative work with the Ukrainian gas company while arguing that MSNBC's Rachel Maddow would be covering the story extensively if President Trump's son was involved in a similar situation.
Let me ask the question detectives ask, Cui Bono, who profits from this as far as Democratic presidential candidates go? At first, I thought it would have been Joe Biden because now he's elevated. He's the villain, the hero that the villain is opposing and elevating in this matter. But you know what? The more I read about this, no, I don't think he was doing something terrible in Ukraine, but it's just so, why can't politicians tell their fucking kids, get a job?
It's too swampy.
Get a goddamn job. This kid was paid $600,000 because his name is Biden by a gas company in Ukraine, this super corrupt country that just had a revolution to get rid of corruption. It just looks bad. And the Republicans are geniuses.
Daily Caller reports comedian Bill Maher expressed doubts about the Democratic plan to impeach President Donald Trump Friday on Real Time with Bill Maher, while suggesting the real scandal on the radar concerned Hunter Biden's business activities in Ukraine. Maher said if the guy with a seat on the board of directors of Ukraine's Burisma Holdings had been Donald Trump Jr., then that issue would be a constant focus of MSNBC's perennial Trump critic, Rachel Maddow. The more I read about this, no, I don't think he was doing something terrible in Ukraine, Maher said of the younger Biden during a panel discussion on Real Time on Friday night. But why can't politicians tell their fucking kids, get a job, get a goddamn job? He continued. This kid was paid $600,000 because his name is Biden by a gas company in Ukraine, this super corrupt country that just had a revolution to get rid of corruption. The liberal comedian and host added that it just looks bad. Maher expressed the same sentiment on Twitter to his more than 11 million followers. It does sound like something Donald Trump Jr. would do, Maher later added on his show Friday. And if Don Jr. did it, it would be all Rachel Maddow was talking about. Maddow, MSNBC's top-rated host, covered possible Russian ties to President Trump and his campaign in the 2016 election extensively leading up to the release of special counsel Robert Mueller's report in April. Daily Caller reports comedian Bill Maher expressed doubts about the Democratic plan to impeach President Donald Trump Friday on Real Time with Bill Maher, while suggesting the real scandal on the radar concerned Hunter Biden's business activities in Ukraine. Maher said if the guy with a seat on the board of directors of Ukraine's Burisma Holdings had been Donald Trump Jr., then that issue would be a constant focus of MSNBC's perennial Trump critic, Rachel Maddow. Maher's perspective comes as polling on impeachment has notably shifted in recent days following House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's announcement Tuesday that Democrats would launch a formal impeachment inquiry into Trump. The president has faced scrutiny over a July phone call in which he pressed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden, a leading 2020 presidential candidate. Biden as vice president in 2016 called for Ukraine to fire a prosecutor who was looking into the gas company on whose board his son Hunter Biden sat. No evidence has emerged that Biden acted with his son's interest in mind. Democrats have blasted Trump's conversation with the Ukrainian leader, asserting it amounts to Trump seeking help from a foreign government heading into the 2020 elections while dangling hundreds of millions of dollars in U.S. aid. On the defense of Trump and allies' side, Republican senators pushed to ramp up scrutiny of Joe and Hunter Biden over Ukraine controversy. Senators Lindsey Graham and Ron Johnson raised the possibility of an investigation into Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden and his son's business dealings in Ukraine.
This is two top Republican senators are ready to amp up the pressure on the former vice president. Senators Lindsey Graham and Ron Johnson have both raised the possibility of some sort of investigation into Biden and his son Hunter's business dealings inside Ukraine. Senator Graham says there are questions which demand answers.
when Vice President Biden called for the prosecutor to be fired and we will cut off all aid, there is a conflict if, in fact, your son is on a board of a company being investigated. I think that's something that somebody should look at here.
Stephen Hayes, former editor-in-chief at the Weekly Standard and a Fox
Thanks
News.
for watching. Don't forget like and subscribe. Leave your comment for video. Thanks.